welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing our brand new die set, Giant Outlined Love. We're also going to be introducing our brand new die set, Heart Blooms, which is so super cute. So let's go ahead and check them out. First, we're going to take a look at Heart Blooms, and here you can see it has this really cool stalk here with leaves, extra little leaves, and then these little heart shapes that make the perfect little heart-shaped flowers. And so all you need to do is just add some adhesive onto the little buds at the top of this plant, and then you can start to layer on the hearts. You could die cut the hearts all out of the same shade of cardstock or multiple shades like we've done here. They're also really cute out of pattern paper as well, and these little heart-shaped blooms just make me smile. They're perfect for Valentine's Day, but I think really cute for like a sending love type of card or a sending hugs. Now it looks really cute just like this. I think that is absolutely adorable. But the die set also has these cute little leaves that you can layer at the base of the heart. So depending on the look you're going for, you can either leave it plain like we have it right now, or you can layer those little leaves at the bottom. And so we're just adding some adhesive to the base of those leaves, and then we're going to layer them at the base of the heart so that the middle of the leaves lines up with the point of the heart. And you can see just how cute this is looking. I just think it is absolutely adorable. These are really cute on their own with like just a cute sending love message, or you can make adorable little scenes with them. And this is a card that we created in an earlier video, but I think this is just so cute. We've layered on the hearts onto a postage rectangle. Then we can just add a little sentiment and a cute critter, and in this case we're going to add one of our brand new little moles, which are adorable with these heart-shaped flowers, and then you can layer on a cute card base with a fun backdrop die, and isn't that just adorable? And in just a bit, we're going to show you some other ways to use this Heart Blooms die. But first, we're going to take a look at the Giant Outline Love. It has the base piece and then the individual letters that you can layer on top. And on the base piece, you'll see that there's some little embossed lines that the die creates for you, and that's a guide as to where to place the letters. It's really fun to cut the letters out of these metallic or holographic cardstock, but of course you can do different colors of cardstock, pattern paper. You could make the base be a pattern paper. There's so many fun and cool ways to use this die, and I love that heart-shaped O. You can also stamp tiny little phrases inside of that heart shape or add a cute critter in there too, but this looks, I mean, look at that. That is so cute and so much fun, and I think it's just a nice way to have a bold sentiment on a card. Now here I wanted to show you a sample where we did different colors of cardstock. So I love that you could do all sorts of different things to get different looks with this Giant Outline Love die. Now we're going to create a card featuring the Giant Outline Love die, the one with the gold metallic that we just created. And we're going to start off by die cutting the largest of the postage rectangle stackables. And we're going to add this here to this grip mat. And then we're going to be taking a coordinating stencil for it. You can see there's etched guidelines that make it really easy to line up. And that's going to help us stencil on some color in the inside part of this die, leaving the outside part a white frame so that it really kind of feels like a postage stamp. And so here we have some kiddie pool ink, and we're just going to lightly brush on this ink. So this is just going to be a really faint color for the background. And right now we are recreating a card by Kelly. So thank you so much, Kelly. And so now we can go ahead and lift up that stencil, and look how beautiful that is. I absolutely love it. Now next, for some more decoration, we're going to be using the new quilted heart border. This is so cute, and we're going to die cut that out of some different shades of pink and red cardstock. So we have lobster, raspberry, and ballet slippers. And we're going to go ahead and just measure in between those stitch lines there with our ruler, and then we can add this on to our quilted border strip, and we're just going to make a little pencil mark and then just trim that down to be the exact size of that area that we stenciled. Now, I want these to have a staggered look so that the heart is lined up with that little like leafy pattern. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to go ahead and layer the one we already trimmed, and we're going to just take it and shift it over like this. And then once that's in right placement, we can go ahead and just trim with our scissors. And that's a quick and easy way to do it without having to measure or anything, and making sure that we're going to get that really cool staggered look. Then for the next one, we're actually just going to line those up because we don't want the next one to be staggered, right? So we're just going to trim off that edge there. And now we're going to have 3 that are going to line up just perfectly. Then next, we're going to take out the ruler here, and it has this really awesome zero centering. And so we're going to add that right onto the card here and just make a mark right in the center of this postage. That way we can go ahead and add our centerpiece, which is going to be our middle shade of pink here. We're going to line that up right with that little mark. And then we can go ahead and layer the other pieces. Now you'll see that it's going to be kind of staggered. So this one's going to go just like that so that the hearts aren't perfectly lined up. And then the one underneath it is going to line up just like this. Then we're going to bring in that giant outline love that we created earlier with that cool metallic look to it. And we're also going to bring in the Valentine mice stamp set. And this set is so super cute and it has some really great phrases here. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stamping sending love your way. But instead of stamping the word love, we're going to have the big die cut love, which I think is so cool. So we're going to stamp just the sending, and then we're going to stamp the your way part. And you'll see that we've just kind of layered that giant outline love on there without gluing it down yet because I didn't want it to be in the way of my stamping. I want to pop it up, and if it was popped up, I was worried I'd mess up the stamping. So we're just holding it in place, doing some stamping, and then we can go ahead and add some foam squares to the back of that giant outline love. And I always love this look of the mixing of stamping with a die cut sentiment. There's something about it that just always looks so cute. And with that little quilted border in the background, it's just adorable. So now we can layer that on there with our foam squares and give it a nice pop. And then for another cute finishing touch, we're going to be bringing in that Valentine mice stamp set again. And it's got the cute little mouse that's hanging over the letter, which I think is so cute with this sending love theme. And so we're going to layer that right on top of the O. And isn't that just adorable? I love that that heart-shaped O is the perfect place to feature a critter or another little mini sentiment too. Now here's a standard card base that's 5.5 by 4.25. We're going to add some adhesive to the back of this postage rectangle. And I love that when you layer the largest postage rectangle on a card base, it gives you that nice little border all the way around that looks so super cute. And now this card is all done, super quick and easy to make and absolutely adorable and so much fun. And next up, Shari is going to use the heart blooms in such a cute way. So take it away, Shari.
So my card today features the new Heart Blooms die set, and I have cut 2 sets of blooms and stems from white cardstock, and I am going to be using my inks today to color my die cuts. I'm using a grip mat to hold them in place, and I'm starting out with jalapeno ink and just going all over with that green. I'm not concerned about those little bulb shapes at the end of the stems. That's where we're going to glue our hearts. Next, I have some clover ink, which is a darker green, and a smaller blending brush, and I'm just adding some shading at the base of the bundle of stems and on that leaf at the top. And once I get these all colored, I will just pull them off this grip mat and set them aside. Next up, I have the little die cuts that go at the base of each of the heart blooms, and I'm just sticking those to my grip mat as well. For these, I'm using cilantro ink and a large brush to add color to them very lightly. So these are going to be a different shade of green than the stems. So we have lots of greens going on, and you can see as I go back over them again, I can get a little bit darker shading on one side. Now I'll pull all of these off and set them aside, and I am going to clean off my grip mat just with a little bit of water so that I don't contaminate my hearts, because I will be using a different color for those, of course, not green. The Heart Blossoms die set will cut 3 large hearts and 2 small ones, so I've cut those twice. I'm starting with the large hearts first, and I'm going in with Peachy Keen ink and putting a light layer of pink all over my hearts. And I really like how this catches in the stitching detail. You can see it start to kind of pop and come to life there as we add the ink. Then I'm going in with a darker color. So for the darker color, I'm going to pull out Wild Rose and a smaller blending brush and pull that Wild Rose color up from that point at the bottom of the heart, because this is where it's going to meet the green stem. So I want to shade it to where it's kind of darker at the bottom. And I was just kind of checking to see how much would get covered up with those little green leaves so that I know how far up to pull this darker color. And once I have these large hearts looking the way I like, I will pull those off, clean off the pink ink on my grip mat, and lay down those smaller hearts. So I have 4 of the smaller hearts. These are going to be purple in color, and I'm starting out with fresh lavender for my base color, which is a lighter purple. And then just like I did with the large pink hearts, I'm going to come in with sugar plum, which is a bit darker, and shade at the bottom with a smaller brush and pull that color up from the bottom towards the center. And then once all of my die cuts are colored, I can start to assemble my heart blooms into beautiful heart bouquets. So I'm starting with that stem, which is the first thing that I colored. I'm adding some dots of liquid glue to the ends of the stems on that sort of bulb-shaped area. And then I am adding my hearts. So for each of these, I will add 3 pink hearts and 2 purple hearts. So 3 large hearts and 2 small hearts. And you can kind of add these anywhere you want. I don't want both of these to be exactly the same, so I'm going to change it up at the top here and put a purple one and then have my 2 pinks that are beside each other on the right side. Now for these little leaves, those are the places where that bloom meets the stem. I'm just going to put a little dot of glue right at the point of each of the little hearts, pick these up and drop them into place. So I just have that one little dot of glue holding it right there where everything connects. And of course, I'm going to do the same to my other heart blooms. And the pick up pokey tool really makes it easy to pick these up and drop them into place. Now I do want to pull in some critters to go with my heart blossoms, so I have the Mole Lot of Love stamp set. I colored and cut out 3 of the little moles. For the background on this card, I'm using some spiffy speckles paper, and I'm cutting that out with the largest of the outside in rectangles. I'm also going to cut a piece of craft paper with that same outside in rectangle, and this is going to be the dirt where my moles are digging and my blossoms go. I am going to be using the stitched garden border for the ground, but before I die cut that, I want to go ahead and stamp my sentiment along the bottom. I like to stamp my sentiment first along the bottom like this so that I make sure I have enough space to include my sentiment and I don't cut my border die too low. So it's really easy to just stamp that sentiment first, and now we know exactly where we need to put our border die. I'm just kind of checking to make sure my moles are where I want them to be and I've got enough space for everything. Now this Stitch Garden border die is really fun because it's going to cut those little hills at the bottom, which is going to be the perfect place to tuck our heart blossoms. I am going to ink this up a little bit with some walnut ink to kind of darken it up, make it look like soil a little bit more. And look how that ink catches those little cut hillsides at the bottom. I just think that that looks so cool. I'm adding a little at the bottom too, just so that we have all those fun stitching details standing out. I'm also going to add some inking to my spiffy speckles paper just around the outside edges, just to kind of darken it up a little bit. I just think that this always kind of frames a little scene a little bit better. Now I can add my spiffy speckles paper to my card base. So this is my sky and I cut it with that outside in stitch rectangle. So on a card base, it's going to have that nice white matte frame all the way around it. Then I can add my dirt here at the bottom. But before I do that, I want to kind of tuck my heart blooms in and figure out where I want them. Now I am going to cut off this leaf at the bottom just so I could tuck it down in there a little bit more. And then of course I'm going to pull in my images too and just start to figure out what I want this card to look like. I ended up using those little mounds that the Stitched Garden border creates as a guide for where I wanted to put my moles. I thought about tucking this heart bloom over to the side, but in the end decided I wanted them both in the center. And of course for this one I'm also going to cut off a couple leaves just so it will go down into that little mound a little better. So for this one on the right I actually trimmed off 2 leaves, so it would stick right down in there and not be sticking up too high on my card. So since I have these heart blooms where I want them to be, I'm actually going to hold them in place on the back with a little bit of tape. This is going to get glued right down to the background, but that's going to hold them in place so I can use this whole thing as one piece and adhere it down to my card all at once. So I've added some adhesive runner to the back of the dirt. For the blooms themselves, I'm using some liquid glue just because they're kind of thick and at different heights, and I want to make sure everything gets stuck down really well. Then I will just line this up with the bottom of the spiffy speckles paper. And now we have that fun stitching detail that goes all the way around because I cut it out with that same outside in stitch rectangle. So now I'm ready to add my cute little moles, and I want these popped up from those blooms in the background. So I'll be adding some foam squares to each of them. I did have a bloom that wasn't quite glued down because it overlaps the one behind it. So I'm just adding a few dots of glue behind it, making sure that is adhered down before I add my little mole on top. And this works perfectly with these blooms and the stitched garden border because they have those little dirt hills already incorporated into the image. I love the one that's digging like he's doing work in the garden. The one with his legs sticking up cracks me up because who knows what he's doing down there. And then, of course, I like this little guy peeking out. And of course, we want to add some sparkle to this card, and these die cuts are the perfect place to do that. So I'm adding some stickles to the little leaves at the base of each heart, some on the leaves that are left on the stems, and then a little dusting of glitter on the tops of all the hearts. So I didn't cover the whole heart with glitter, but just those bumps on the top. And then at this point, I wanted my dirt to look a little more dirt-like and speckled like the background. So I'm just taking a Copic marker in brown and adding some dark little dots into that craft paper. And then here is my finished card with those cute little moles and those beautiful heart blossoms in the garden behind them.
This card is so cute, Shari. I love how you layered two of them into that garden border with the adorable moles. Oh my gosh, it just makes me smile. And next up, we're going to create a card featuring these heart blooms using our bouquet wrap die. So we're going to start off by die cutting these heart blooms all out of white cardstock. And this is one of my favorite ways to play with die cuts, and that's to add color with either markers or ink blending. And in this case, I'm going to be using some markers. So I'm going to add my darkest towards the bottom and then work my way up through the lightest. And then I always repeat it to make it a little bit bolder. So you'll see dark, medium, light, and then repeat once again, dark, medium, light. And we're going to do that through all of these cute little hearts. And I think that looks just so pretty. Then for the leaves at the base of the flowers, we're going to do our dark marker and then just blend it out with the light marker, nice and quick and easy. And then here we're going to work on the rest of our greenery. And I'm going to add my medium marker in and then blend it out with my light marker. And at this point I thought it needed a little bit more definition, so I'm just going to bring in my darkest marker and kind of go along the edges and along the leaves and then blend it out with the medium. And then I'll go back in through the light. And you can see that has a little bit more detail on it now, and I think it looks really pretty. Now this is the bouquet wrap die, and it has this really cute bow in it. So I went ahead and die cut that from some white cardstock. And here we're going to use some BV markers, and for the hearts we use some RV markers. So I think it's just going to look really nice together. And we're just going to blend it out so that it's darker towards the middle and lighter towards the outsides there. And I think that just looks so pretty. This is such a pretty purple. And then now we can start to layer all of these pieces. So we're going to add some liquid glue onto the buds of these blooms, and then we're going to layer our heart-shaped flowers on top. And I think this is looking so pretty, and with the marker it just gives it that beautiful detail. Next, I'll add some liquid glue to the little base pieces, and we're going to layer those at the bases of all the hearts. And I just think it's so cute. It kind of reminds me of Alice in Wonderland a little bit, which just makes me smile. Then once we have all of those layered, our last step is to layer the bow together. So you can add some liquid glue onto that little kind of top square and then layer the bow right on top of there. So the next thing we need for our bouquet is our bouquet wrap. And so we're going to be die cutting that from some craft cardstock. And you'll see there's two pieces to that bouquet wrap. And then once we have those die cut from the craft cardstock, we're going to do just a little bit of ink blending on it just to give it that fun shaded look. And so we're going to use some vintage photo distress ink and just go along the edges just lightly, just to give it that vintage look and make it look like that paper has been wrapped over the flowers. Then we can add some tape runner to this base piece and layer it onto the scallop piece. And the die creates that little cut line there for you that we're going to be able to tuck our heart blooms in. So we're going to add some adhesive to the back of those and then just tuck them right into that cut line. And it looks like someone really did wrap up a bouquet of heart-shaped flowers. Now for our background, we're going to be using the brand new Checkered Hearts backdrop, and we're going to die cut some of this Leaful Gradients paper so that it has a really pretty gradient on there. And then we're also going to trim down some lilac cardstock to layer behind, because that lilac cardstock is going to kind of match that bow that we added some marker to earlier. So we'll add some liquid glue to the back of the backdrop, and then we can just layer some of this purple behind. And now we're going to have cute little purple hearts peeking out from this really pretty backdrop. Then we can add some foam squares to the back of our bouquet, peel up the liner paper on those, and then layer the bouquet here on the card at a little bit of an angle, which I think is a really cute look. For our sentiment, we're going to use the Henry's Build a Sentiment Love, which has all of these cute mix and match phrases. And so we're going to be doing I love you on there along with a cute little exclamation point. We're going to ink that up with some clear embossing ink, sprinkle on some white heat embossing powder, and then heat it up with the heat tool so that we have this really pretty bright white shiny sentiment. And then we're going to die cut that with a sentiment banner die and add some foam tape to the back of that and then layer that onto the card. And you'll see that it has a cute little flagged end on one side, and then we can just trim off any of the excess on the other side. And I think that is so cute. And I love that this is cute for Valentine's Day, but would be cute for an I love you card any time of the year. Here we have a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25, and we can layer this whole panel on top. And now this card is all done. It's so super cute, and I love the idea of creating scenes with the heart blooms die, and I also really love the idea of adding it to something like this bouquet wrap. It just feels so perfect and special for Valentine's Day. And next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team. And first up, we have one by Maureen, and I love how she tucked the heart blooms behind her giant outline love. It's so cute with all of those bunnies from lots of different favorite sets. This card here by Megan is so pretty. I love how she added the paper clips and the cute Valentine mice onto her giant outline love. This card by Lynette is so fun. I love the different shades of red onto her cute little heart-shaped blooms and that checkered background too. And this card by Callie is so fun. I love how she added our adorable moles in with the heart blooms. They are the perfect little scene for these sweet moles. This card here by Audrey is so pretty, and I love how she stenciled our outline hearts in the background and the cute sentiment love is in the air. This card by Mindy is so fun. I just love the little heart-shaped paperclip at the top too. It just makes it. And this card here by Elena is so pretty, and I love how she added smaller hearts onto the blooms. I think that's such a cute look. This card by Letitia is so fun. I love how she filled in the whole card with the heart blooms. It's perfect for Valentine's Day. And then here, this card by Grace is so pretty. She added our brand new critter accessories for the cute little Cupid bunny on with the giant outline love. And then here is a card by Rebecca that's so fun. I love the little mole on with the super cute heart blooms. This card here by Lynette is so much fun, and she added our Valentine mice onto the giant outline love. And then here, this card by Melissa is so fun. I love how she really popped up those blooms. I think it looks so beautiful. This card by Callie is the one that inspired us to make ours today, and I just love how she combined the stamping and the die cut sentiment. And here, this card by Tammy is so fun. She also added a cute Cupid bunny onto the giant outline love, and it's perfect with the phrase, "Some bunny loves you." And then here, I love how Elise created a shaker using the giant outline love, and I can't wait to try this. So we cannot wait to see all of your giant love cards and all of your heart blooms cards, so make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!